and sisters from all over the world. We just realized today that we can't rely on technology. Prof, do you know that Google is down? Was down, I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
You cannot access your YouTube, your Facebook. Facebook, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Some of the basic services. So actually, this technology, I mean, as Marx says, now the material has become our boss. We are working for the technology. The technology working for us.
Yeah,
that's what Karl Marx says. It.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So Alhamdulillah, last week we had a heavy dose of Ikhwanus Safa from both Mulyadhi. We know that terrestrial knowledge, celestial knowledge, and those division, and math is in between. It can be conceptual, it can be physical, Alhamdulillah. And we also understand last week that these metals, gold, silver, is depend on the celestial, on the moon, on the planet. It can change properties if the sun is not shining. That's how we understand, Alhamdulillah. So we look forward for this week lecture, Prof. All yours.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa bihi nasta'inu ala umur dunya wa din. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu la nabiyya ba'dah. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, we still have a blessing from Allah, so we can continue our program. And I saw Dato' Jamil already there. Thank you for your attention. Okay, today we will talk about the sources of knowledge and also scientific method. So actually in my book, this is 2 chapters. I don't know how to summarize it, but I'll do my best, okay? So first, we are talking about the sources of knowledge. Why it is important? Because science, modern science, does not recognize some of the sources that was confirmed by Muslims. For example, heart and intuition. They say this is nothing, you know. And also sometimes even intellect. They said it's not the real source of knowledge. The real source of knowledge is actually sensory perceptions, the senses. Why? Because they concentrate only on the physical entities. So what we need is just sensation or ihsas in Arabic. So they depend on sense perception, and that's why we have the empiricism in British, and also of course positivism in French. They just believe on whatever that we can see. Otherwise, it's not the real scientific objects. Also, the method they use is actually what we call in Islam tajribi method. This is the experimental method. As for logical method and also for intuitive method, modern science does not really recognize it as the source. Okay, so today it's very important for us to understand what they consider as the sources of knowledge in Islamic epistemology compared to that of Western epistemology. Okay, so by that we understand that actually we have more than the West, because the West just considers senses, and sometimes it's a mathematical calculation. okay, as the source of knowledge. But they deny the intellect and also intuition. This is very important for us. Okay, so let's begin with senses. Maybe not all of us know that in Islamic epistemology, we recognize two kinds of senses. The first one, external senses, and the second one, internal senses. Okay. External senses, of course, all of us know what that's. There is eyes and its power, sight, right? So eyes is the physical organ, and sight is the faculty of the eyes. Okay, so you should differentiate between the organ and also the capacity. And ear is the physical organ, but hearing is its power. And also like tongue is the senses for taste, and of course smelling. Nose has a smelling senses. So at the first time, maybe you can see you can say that with all these senses, we don't need any more anything, right? Because with your eyes, you can see anything. Yeah, especially if you believe that only physical entities exist. So you don't need any more, right? That's why in the 18th century, British philosopher believe in empiricism, including John Locke and David Hume. They say that there's no other source of knowledge than sense perception. Okay, so you can see, you can know that Mr. Saharan there, because I can see him. Okay, you know that Jakarta is there because you can see it. And if there is a noise, and you can sense it through your ears. So what else? I mean, by eyes, you can see what the color of a thing, and also the form of a thing, right? But of course, eyes cannot hear sound, right? So that's why God also created ear, someone. Okay, in order for us to be able to listen, right? And it is actually amazing, that you just listen to me, and then suddenly, knowledge come to your, without doing anything, just hear. Okay, or if you read, you can get information just by reading it. This is the power of senses. Okay, but eyes and ear cannot taste your food, right? That's why Allah created tongue for you, in which there is a sensor that can differentiate between salty, sweet, and so on. By that, then you can know what the taste of something. And this is very important source of business, right? You can create any food, because of that. If you don't have any sense of taste, so why is better to buy something, to buy food or something like that? So actually, all these things, all these physical organs and its power can benefit us. Pasaran use, color. This is very nice color, because you can see it. Otherwise, why color matters? But by that the paint factory can produce so many, so you can see from that the potential of business or something, right? With the smell, then you can produce perfume, right? And with the ear, you can produce, the Quranic tilawatul Quran, or maybe music or something like that, right? And all of this, of course, become the a barakah from God. It is a blessing from God. Otherwise, how can you know? In the Quran, it is said that God create, make a baby, come out from the mother womb without knowing anything. Then God created, hearing and, sighting and call, heart. Meaning this is the instrument for knowledge. Okay, so that is why senses is become one of the sources in Islamic epistemology, which is very important one. If you use senses or sense perception properly, you might become a great scientist, right? Because scientists using the maximum, your eyes, your observation, right? So if you use all your senses very systematically, it is not impossible that you become very good, great scientist. Okay, but again, as I told you, that according to Muslim philosopher, that we don't have not only have the external senses but also internal senses, and this is well defined by Ibn Sina in both An-Najat and also Ash-Shifa, on the senses. Okay, and the first one he called al-his al-mushtarak. He called common sense. Okay, common sense, and by that, of course, this is not visible to us. Right? It's not visible to us. This is internal or inner senses. Okay, but as a philosopher, he tried to prove its existence. Okay, for example, actually, anything like pen, if you perceive it with your senses, then you will get actually 5 data sense. Yeah, 5 sense data. Okay, I mean, you can see the form, the the color, right? And the hardness. Okay, the taste if you want. And yeah, so actually anything, it's you can get 5 data sense or sense data to your. But why you said that this is only one? What happened? But why you call this one? This is because there's an inner senses they call al-his al-mustarak that united, combine all this into one thing. So that's why we said that this is one, regardless of how many sense data that you receive. Okay. Okay, that is the first, and the second one it's called khayal. And by khayal, it's not imagination. It's different from imagination. Khayal is actually simply image. See, the image that when you look at something or someone, like when I look at the Saharan's face, then Pasaran, leaves the room, but the face is still here. The picture of the face is still here. That is what's called a khayal or retentive faculty. Okay, retentive faculty. And this is very important, actually. This is, blessing from God. If you don't have that, then you will not remember your mother, your father, even your wife, your car, right? Because you don't have that image preserved in your mind. But as long as you still recognize, your friend, your mother, your brother, that is okay. Meaning that khayal is still functioning in you. Okay. And the third one called mutakhayyila. And this is compositive imaginal faculty. And this is different from khayal because imagination means you play with the image, right? You do something to image, imagination. And by that, then you can create very, fantastic form. See, like the animated movie or something like that. Or you might be created the, fairy tale. When you can talk about the golden apple, right? Golden carriage, and also glass shoes or something, right? Even some people, created the image of what's called Pegasus, the flying horse or something like that. This is the result of imagination. But the significance of that in acquiring the image is that, according to Muslim philosopher, the more universal knowledge, the higher. If you are talking about image, that image cannot be separated from that object. For example, when I'm talking about face of Dr. Sahran, then it depends on Mr. Sahran. It cannot be, applied to other things. It's dependent into the particular thing is very, very strong. Okay, but knowledge cannot be just particular. Knowledge should go to the universal. Okay, that imagination actually one step further, because you have some concept without having real objects of that. For example, Pegasus, right? Flying horse. You cannot find it in the real life, but the concept's still there. So this is, but that imagination actually can be very beneficial to us. How many great novelists because of that? Harry Potter, for example, right? This is the potential that actually humans should use, right? Because so many things that you can create, even architects. If he doesn't have, imagination, how can they, form a very nice house? This is the combination of different forms. Okay, that is actually one of the potential in human being. If you can use that, but unfortunately, many of people, most of us, didn't use that properly, so we don't create anything, But painting and even composing song is also coming from imagination, right? Okay. And then the third one, the fourth one is wahmun, which is understood by Ibn Sina as estimative faculty, the power to judge whether an object is beneficial or harmful. Okay, and it will relate it to the faculty of moving, because if you consider that an object is beneficial, it will move us, to the objects. But if you consider that the object is dangerous, so they will pull us, right, from that object. So this is very important. Estimative faculty very important to decide which movement that you can take. If you use it not properly, then it will be very dangerous. That there's a flame of fire, but then you go there. So and the last one is a quwatul hafizah, meaning the memory. So if you know that something is harmful to you, dangerous for you, then you remember that, and you might not to do it again, right? Even a goat can have that, power. So whenever the goats look at the, see the wolf, for example, then we'll run out. I'm running away, right? Because of that, the estimative faculty. So it is very important to have that. Otherwise, it will danger yourself. Okay, so there are 5 external senses and 5 internal senses as the source of knowledge. Okay. The second source is called akal, al-aql, or intellect. And for Muslim philosophers, intellect is coming from the angelic world. Okay, so that's why human is called as the al-alam al-saghir, right? The microcosm, because it contains all cosmic elements, from mineral to vegetable to animal to angels, right? So what is the element of angel? They call it intellect. So intellect is just like angel. It doesn't have any body, organ in the beginning, but when the intellect entered your human body, then it's called soul of human being. So according to philosopher, soul, human soul is actually intellect, right? That's why it's called al-hayawanun natik, the rational being, because of that intellect. So according to Ibn Sina, when your soul leaves your body, when the body dies, it's called akal. But when it is in your body, that akal is called human soul, or and that's not clear. Okay. And what is the benefits or the power of intellect? This is very amazing, actually. Okay. Why? Because akal can abstract an essence, okay, from whatever you see, right? You see animal, you know the essence of animal. Okay. When you look at the sky, then you have idea. This is abstracted by intellect. Okay. But what is very important also, and for that human being is defined, the ability to speak, the ability to talk. Al hayawan and nothing. We are hayawan actually, right? We are animal, but rational animal. Animal coming from hayawan, coming from the word hay, meaning living. So living creature. You are living creature. So when somebody said you are animal, yeah, right. Because like, it doesn't do. I mean, that's why philosophers said that human being is a rational animal, actually, right? Why? Because rational. Because uh, the characteristic of animal actually can sense and can move, and human being can do that. Right? But the differentiate from the animal because human being can talk, and by the ability of talking is actually the ability to understand the symbols. This is very important. The ability to understand the symbol. No animals can ever, understand animal. That's why even when you go to the very, ancient caves, you can see the what's called picture or painting. This is by human being. That is symbol. I mean, this painting is a symbol, but we never heard that lion, for example, right, painted in the wall of the cave, because animal, however high the level, cannot understand the symbol. Only human being can understand the symbol. And with that, human being also can understand the words, right? And this is the ability of your intellect, that you understand what people are saying, right? You can understand the things that you see and you abstract the concept from that, but also you can understand the wording, speaking from the people. This is all because we understand the symbol. A, B, C, D, this is a symbol. And words also symbol. It's not reality, right? Jalaluddin Rumi says in one verse, he said, can you pluck a rose from R-O-S-E? Of course not. This is, you just get the name. Seek for the named, right? So, because of that intellect that was given by God to us, we understand the symbol. And with that, we understand, languages. See? Some people can understand 12 languages, That's okay because human beings have that ability. This is the intellect faculty. Okay, that you have to really thankful for God, to God. Okay, and what else? This is I don't know. I never heard from other philosopher the ability of the intellect of akal to pose questions, right? Yeah, you have to really grateful that you are able to ask questions, because from asking question, then you will get so many, answer, so many information. For example, you can ask about time, space, the cause. For example, if you heard some incident, or accident, right? You ask for what kind of accidents? Oh, car accident. Where? When? Right? Who involved in that? What the cause? This is all the question that you can pose, and from that you can get information. This is what journalists, all the time doing, right? So your ability to ask questions, please use, right? Otherwise, there's no use for that, right? But asking questions just prove to us that intellect is the source of knowledge, right? By the ability to pose the questions. This is very important. Okay. Now, is there any other sources after senses and intellect? Yeah, according to Muslim philosopher or Muslim scientist. Why? It's enough, that you can see everything and you can analyze it through your mind, your intellect. But according to Muslim scholars, intellect has also limit, right? It has also limits. For example, intellect will not understand actually why a book, for example, becomes sacred, right? Become holy. For example, the Quran. Why is this different from Das Kapital by Karl Marx? See? Your intellect will not understand. This is the same. The same. This is the same papers, and writing, something like that. You don't understand. The intellect will not understand that. What is different between 1 meter square in front of Multazam, okay, the Kaaba, with 1 meter here in Jakarta, for example? For the intellect, the same. No different, right? No. This is because, there's a tendency to generalize. Okay, while the event actually unique, all the events actually unique, but according to Iqbal, intellect tend to specialize. You make everything become space. For example, time. Time has no space, but then it's divided, break down into, like something that break down into time measures. For example, second, minutes, hours, and so on. This is all But there is no difference between 1 hour now and 1 hour next or in the future. But in religion, you have that idea of sacred time, right? Bulan suci Ramadan, right? Tanah suci, sacred land. Okay, this can be understood only by heart, and it involves love. That's why Jalaluddin Rumi, use two words as a one meaning: love or intuition. This is the same, love and hearts. See, I will ask you, if in the all time, when you have a girlfriend or something like that, you will receive this letter, right? Letter. And regardless of how beautiful or how ugly her or his writing, this letter is still very special for us, right? Yeah, you will maybe preserve this letter, or put into some special place. Why? Because this letter is not usual. This is very special letter. Why? Because you have love for that. Okay. Just imagine a Sufi who considers God as his beloved and the Quran as his letters. So Quran will not the same. The Quran is a letter from the beloved. So Quran will be very sacred. Meaning you have love. You will not treat the Quran like others, like what you do to you, the letters of your life. Only heart understand that. Okay. Now, how about space? See, maybe you one or twice or two times, happened to you that you, with your beloved, in certain place, right? Not necessarily beautiful, but you sense it, you feel it like very special place, right? Because you are with your beloved, someone you love. Okay. Just imagine if a Sufi or Muslim that love God, right, and he come to his house, Baytullah, right, and he can see the presence of God through his heart. Will the place the same as usual? No. It will be like the place that we share with your beloved. Okay, so that's why the place become sacred, become holy. If you have love, if you don't have love, you will not understand that. So the question: do you have love for God? That is the question. Okay, in the Quran, it's very important, very interesting. Zukirallah wajilat qulubuhum. This is how define the Muslim, the true Muslim. If God's name is mentioned, there's a shivering in their hearts, and this only happens when your beloved is mentioned. When you have a long time not to see him or her, then someone mentioned his name or her name, then you feel something in your heart, right? So this is, if you love God, it will be like that. Whenever God's name is mentioned, then with something. But if you don't have love, you don't have heart, then you cannot understand that, and you will not feel that. Okay, so that's why in Islamic epistemology, heart become very important source of knowledge, because he can see the knowledge very intimately, in intimacy. Right? That's why there is a concept of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the intimate, the most intimate knowledge, because you are talking about yourself, right? If you want to understand my thinking, you have to read or listen to my lecture, right? But if I want to understand my own thinking, should I read something? No. But even when you read my books, it's not necessary that what you understand is exactly like what I understand, right? Why? Because in self-knowledge or knowledge by presence, it's called, subject and object is the same, right? The object that you are inquiring is in yourself. So they compare the intuitive knowledge like that. That's why, for Sufi, for example, God is not there. God is in their hearts, right? Why? Because this is Hoduri, Hoduri, the presential knowledge. With love, you can attract the object to yourself, right? Whether it is human being that you love or God can be very close to us. وإذا سألك عبادي أني فإني قريب, right? وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. This is if you have love to God, then God will be very close to you. Why? Because you use not intellect. If you are talking by intellect, you will see that God is so far away. Like the concept of Ibn Sina about God. There's first akal, second akal, until 10 intellect, right? Then human being. So if you want to go to God, you have to go to the like this planets and like that. Why? Because you use intellect. Intellects always make a gap between subject and objects. Okay. So I'll stop talking about source to that. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the second topic, which is scientific methods. Okay. Scientific method is actually the answer to the question how we know the objects of knowledge, right? Two questions, very important questions in any epistemology. First, what we can know, and if you have that answer, then how to know it, right? So method actually related to the second question, how to know the knowledge. And it should be very in your mind that any method should be suitable to the nature of the objects. See, so if you are talking about physical objects, then you have to use certain methods, right? This is called tajribi, and Muslim the first who do it perfectly. They make experiments, right? Like Ibn Haytham for the theory of direct vision, right? And also many Muslim astronomers like Kushji, they make experiments in this. And in Al-Biruni, he want to know the circumstances of the Earth, and he used not only experimental method, but it's combined with the trigonometry. So he found the value of that. So methods should be adjusted to the nature of objects. If the object is a physical, then you have to use physical organ. You use eyes, your ear, and so on. And if necessary, then you use instrument, telescope or microscope or something like that, right? Okay. But if you are talking about what called al-ma'kulat, the intelligibles, it's not mahsusat. Mahsusat is something that is tangible, right? Can be senses. But ma'kulat, you will not see it, you will not send it, but you understand it. This is al-ma'kulat. So like concepts, concept, all what we are talking about, this is all concept, but you understand the concept, right? Concept cannot be seen, right? If you deny all other, than the physical entities, even you denied your idea as exists, just imagine people without thinking, without concepts, This is worse than animal. Human beings become great because they have a concept. And concept, it's not tangible, right? Concept is an abstract. But that's abstract thing can change human being. One day I read a book called 10 books, the books that changed the world. Of course, by books, not paper and ink, but the idea. It can change. For example, it mentioned about Das Kapital, about the Principia Mathematica of Newton, Malthus, about population, the interpretation of dream. This is all ideas, but it change human being, right? So in my book, I said that to prove the existence of mind or of concept of ideas, you said that, books are proven to move, to make change to human being. And we can say all that can change exists, right? Because if it doesn't exist, how can it change people, right? And ideas can change, meaning ideas exist. This is how to prove, the non-physical entities, right? And this is called demonstrative method. Okay, so we have tajribi and we have demonstrative method. Demonstrative method is the highest method of logic, right? There's a dialectical below that, and we have rhetoric below that, and we have sophistry and poetry. Okay, but the highest is demonstrative method. I should go on because otherwise time. So Burhani demonstrative method is actually to deal and even to verify, right? Verify and falsify the ideas. That is why there is logical fallacies, right? This is the way of thinking that's wrong. So there's a criteria for that's why logic is very important. Even Sina wrote 9 books on logic. Okay. Now Irfani. Irfani is the intuitive method. I just talk about this, right? That Irfani is deal with al-makulats, but in different way. You will not understand something if you are talking about intuitive by reading. No. Jalaluddin Rumi, as I told you, said, can you pluck a rose from R-O-S-E? No. This is how intellect approach the thing. But this is not real knowledge. It said, seek for the named, right? So you have to go beyond the symbol. And this is, okay. So what important in here, you have to experience it in order to understand it. Okay. If you don't experience any mystical experience, you will not understand mystical experience. Like, if you want to know sweet, you cannot understand it without tasting it. So taste, this is zawq, that's important. And the knowledge of this is very intimate. So near, almost touch the real objects. So this is also important because, the difference between a logical method and intuitive method is that you are united with your objects, like talking about self-knowledge, right? In the concept of knowledge by presence, wrote by Mehdi Hayriazi, he said that everything actually has 2 objects, the transitive object and immanent objects. For example, if your beloved, are far away, then you have 2 beloved actually. The first one is the far away in other island, but there's another one here in your heart. Jauh di mata, dekat di hati. So we're not talking about knowledge by present. We are talking about the present, immanent objects. So God can be here. God can be in heart. Anything. And the knowledge of this is direct knowledge. So intellectual knowledge is always based depend on symbol, and so it's not direct. But intuitive is not. If you have not experienced falling in love, felt in love, fallen in love, you will not understand love, regardless of how many books that you read. Right? Love is to be experienced if you want to understand. Love to God like that. You will not understand how Rabi al-Adawiya fall in love with God. Okay, and the last one is called Bayani, what's called the explanatory method. And this is deal with sacred texts, especially Quran and Hadith, for example. Right? Quran there is a literal Quran, but also there is a inner meaning of the Quran. Right? You won't understand Quran only by reading the texts, right? And for understanding Quran, you have to understand this method, this Bayani method. First, you have to understand and differentiate between ayatul muhkamat and ayatul mutashabihat, right? Mutashabihat is like ambiguous. For example, Yadullah fawqa aydihim, God's hands, offer the hand. You cannot imagine, that God has hand like human being. So this is mutashabihat. But there is a muhkamat, with a very clear meaning of that. But even muhkamat, you have the mujmal and you have mubayyan. You have to understand what belongs to mujmal and mubayyan. Even mubayyan, you have the nas and other thing. And there is a general meaning and special meaning. Ma'na am and has. Right? So you have to understand it. And we all have to thank Imam Shafi'i, who wrote a book called As-Salah, talking about this in very detail. Okay, so that is what I can, because I want to have, questions and answers. I don't see the watch. I don't know how many time you left. Okay, Brother Saran, thank you very much for giving me time. And
Thank you so much, Prof. We talk about love and heart. Now I know that your lover can be here, can be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Two lovers. Okay, alhamdulillah. We have a long question by Brother Nuruddin, but before that, as a layman, Prof, people say Aristotle is the first teacher in his book of Organon and things. Can you explain a bit? I mean, for us who are not in philosophy.
Okay, first, this is the evidence that Muslim scholars respects anyone from any culture, background, and religious. They know that Aristotle is not Muslim. Yeah, but they really respect because they love truth. Al-Kindi said the truth, wherever it comes from, you have to accept it because there is nothing dearest for the seeker of knowledge, seeker of the truth than the truth itself. So they really respect, and even Muslim philosopher make Greek philosopher as someone who confess monotheism, right? Why? Because, for example, Aristotle said that God is the first cause, right? Of course, first cause should be only one, right? So God should be only one. And even Socrates, who drank the poison, in order to preserve his ideas that God is one. This is according to Muslims. So even some of them say that maybe they are Nabi. Who knows, right? Yeah. So, and of course, because his tremendous works on science, on logics, and so on, they don't say to say that this is our first teacher. Although, of course, you cannot deny also the presence of Plato, right? Because in Islam, there's a follower of Aristotle called Peripatetic, but also a follower of Platonism and Neoplatonism, of course. So, they really respect the ability of Aristotle, right? And you know that Ibn Rus later on commented to many works of him. And the second one, of course, Al-Farabi. Right? Al-Farabi. And the reason is that Ibn Sina would understand all the branches of knowledge in the early years, like teens, like 16, except he couldn't understand metaphysics until he found a book that he, because he didn't believe in metaphysics at the time, because he memorized, books of Aristotle's, but he did not understand the purpose until he found a book written by Al-Farabi, the purpose of metaphysics. So then he read it and he understand it and he gives, sadaqah, charity to people because he's understood. So maybe because of that, because he was given birth to great philosopher like that.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. Okay. To Brother Naruddin.
Yeah.
Prof, is the discussion carried out by Muslim philosophers similar to the Immanuel Kant project, namely asking how knowledge is possible? It is just that Kant came to the conclusion that humans can only perceive empirical reality, noumenon, because humans only have 12 categories of intellect in themselves to process things that are empirical and not metaphysical, noumenon, in nature. Furthermore, is the Sufism methodology a reaction to a philosophical methodology like Ibn Sina and Farabi that is considered too elitist? Thank you.
Okay. Can I answer this?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Immanuel Kant, maybe you can say, like pessimist or, skeptic on the possibility of knowledge. But Muslim never, never skeptical about that. They believe that knowledge is possible, right? And of course, because they believe in God, and also maybe because God is the truth, right? And God asks us to ponder upon this universe and something like that, and to seek the reality. If knowledge is not possible, then how can? But knowledge has many ways, right? There is empirical knowledge. There's philosophical knowledge, intuitive knowledge. But this should be run through different methods. But if you are skeptical about the non-exist or not empirical objects, then you say no. I mean, because you can know the relativity of sense knowledge. For example, you look at the sky in the night, you see, stars, very small, right? Just like people. But is it really small? No. Astronomy told us that there are stars that's bigger, much bigger than our sun, right? 1,000 times, So actually, we cannot see the objects really objectively through your eyes, right? That's why Ibn Hazm talking about causes that make your vision distract or not objective. There's a factor of distance, the lights, okay, and the size. If you see the object too close, like you cannot see. And also too far, you cannot see. It's too bright, you cannot see. Too dim or too dark. So that is why people need reason. For example, according to Al-Ghazali, you will never see moon in full, right? The whole, spheres. It's like, well, but you never see the other side. But why you said that it should be like, well, this is reason. This is akal that helps it, right? So akal help to help this. But akal has the limits, Actually, Immanuel Kant was awakened by David Hume when David Hume criticized the reality of causality, right? I think maybe he was influenced by Al-Ghazali, who denied the existence of causality, this cause-effect nexus. But then he said that this is actually not just the causal nexus, not the causality that is not real. All categories like space, time, right, and causality and relation, all is actually subjective construct in your being. That is why when you say that you know something, it is actually not something. This is as you projected it to know, right? Like you have 12 glasses, with different colors. Can you say that what I see is the real? He said no, right? It's not real, and you will never know the reality. You never know the phenomena. What you see is actually phenomena only. And the ding anze, you cannot know that. The reality you cannot know. Why? Because our is dependent on the categories, right? So this is your projection. This is the knowledge that you want to know. It's not the self, the thing itself, But if you follow that logically, you will end up with maybe what's called skepticism, or maybe agnosticism, right? You don't know anything. That's why, according to agnostics, you will never really sure whether God exists or not, or doesn't exist. He criticized atheists who believe so firmly that God does not exist. He criticized that, but he also criticized theists who believe in God. He said, how can you so firmly believe in that? Human is limited. God is unlimited. How the limited one can understand the unlimited? I answered this question in my book, actually, Lentera Kehidupan. Okay, that, according to Islam, actually, the essence of God is that unknown. You will not understand, you will know now the God essence. That's why Rasulullah say, ponder upon the creation of God, not his essence. Because whatever you think, it will, go beyond that, This is the meaning of Subhanallah amma yasifun. God is transcend all what you describe. If you are talking about the essence of God, but God is not just like that. God also have the sifat, the qualities. And these qualities we share with the God's qualities. And because there is a tashbih, according to Ibn Arabi, there's tanzi and tashbih, the similarity between human qualities and God's qualities, the possibility of knowledge comes. Because according to philosopher, a subject will not understand anything if there is no similarity between subject and object, right? Now, God has qualities that is similar to us. Of course, not in different level. God alive, human also alive. God knowing and also human knowing, right? Because of that, there's a possibility for human being to understand the qualities. And that is why God introduced his name, right? Al-Asma'ul Husna to human being. If human being cannot understand anything, why should God introduce, right? The fact that God introduced his name, meaning that human being has capability of understanding, not his essence, because between his essence and our essence is much different. But understanding the qualities, and these qualities was reflected in universe, right? That's why you cannot just read the universe as it is. You have to read it as a sign of God. And the sign of God is divided into two. One is the Qawliya, with the Quran, and the second one, Kawniyya. And you should read these two sources as the sign of God. If not, then there's the controversy. I mean, the opposition between science and religion. Why? Because even when you are Muslim, now we, as a scientist, we don't treat nature as the sign of God. Why? Because according to them, this is not scientific, right? Because science also stick only to the physical entities. But it is this is the contradiction to the Quranic teaching. Because Quran said, look at this and remember, there's something behind that, So like that, huh? As for, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, Prof, this is a simple question from Abdullah, but I think it's very big. What is the relationship between heart and brain? You have explained it for 1 hour. Can you simplify it?
Well, it's depend on according to who. Because Sufi will answer differently from the philosopher. But because this is philosophy, right? So I will say, according to philosopher, actually, akal has a different level. That's called al-aql bil quwwah, potential, right? And then al-aql bil malaka, habitual intellect, and then active intellect, al-aql fi'al bil fi'li, and then there's acquired intellect, like aqal mustafad, with which philosopher can get ittisal, contact with the Jibril, from which they understand the general and universal concept. This is according to them. But there's another one that called by Ibn Sina al-aql qudsi. This is belong to prophets. See? And this is what we call hearts, according to even sometimes called had al-qudsi, meaning the intuitive, the sacred intuition. So this is heart according to philosophy. While for Sufi or ulama, heart is actually almost everything. I mean, heart can function as the intellect. When lahum qulubun la yaqiluna biha, hearts also, yaqilun, they do reasoning, right? And yatafakkarun or something like that. So I said that hearts divided into two. When hearts function as the reflective faculty, I call it akal. But when hearts is receiving hidayah from God, ilham or revelation, this is called hearts or intuition, something like that, right? So it's justify my division, that senses, intellect, and hearts. And this is important for us to understand and to believe that heart is the source of knowledge. Because if you deny this as the sources, then you will deny everything, including revelation. because revelation is received by hearts. If you deny that, you will deny also revelation. And this is why it is important to understand the Islamic epistemology.
Thank you so much, Prof. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, no problem.
So, can you summarize, Prof, for 1 or 2 minutes before we end?
Okay, so tonight's discussion is about the source of knowledge, which is important: senses, intellect, and hearts, right? And this is all are given to human beings. By this meaning that human being potential to be at once scientists, if you use senses, properly, you can be a philosopher if you use intellect properly, and you can be also at the same time Sufi if you use this sensitivity of your intuition. So many people maybe like Ibn Sina or Jalaluddin Rumi or Al-Ghazali have that all, right? Ibn Sina also scientist, he also philosopher, but sometimes also do like Sufi, like meditation or something like that. Al-Ghazali, of course, he tried senses, he tried intellect, right? But if you couldn't do that, pick one, right? You can be a scientist, but the humble scientist who don't deny the existence of the benefit of philosophy or mysticism, Or you can be a philosopher without denying others, Or you can be a Sufi. But what you cannot do, sorry, what you cannot do, you don't become anything. Any one of them, you wasted your potential that's given by God, right? So that is my final remarks. I hope that's what I am talking about will give benefit for you, for all of you, and widen your horizon or something like that. Because I understand that philosophy is not that popular. but I was glad that UBD asked me to give the lecture on philosophy, Islamic philosophy. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. See you next week, Prof. Same day, same time, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.